This is not cooking. The first time I saw this scene, I realized Bill thinks he's cooking. Look at him, taking so much care putting the filling, cutting off the edges. I got the idea for this video after seeing the one Zoe Bee made about white trash food. If you haven't seen it yet, please check it out, it's really good. The link will be in the description. To me, what Bill is doing in this scene is not cooking. Not really. That's because I was raised by my grandmother in a small town, and for her, nothing that takes less than 25 minutes to make could possibly be categorized as food. Things like sandwiches were snacks you eat in the middle of the day, just to keep going, to refuel. But food, actual food, is something that A. takes at least 25 minutes to make, and B. you eat sitting at a table, taking your time. This very traditional perspective of my grandma's had its flaws. I remember there was at least a couple of years when I was between 10 and 12, she gave me a box with 4 glazed donuts plus 4 chocolate ones, 8 donuts before every lunch. Then I had a yogurt or a piece of fruit for dessert. The donuts weren't food, you see, they were a treat. All 8 of them. A good part of the food I was raised with was the typical traditional food she'd eaten all her life, Galician food. Heavy stews, fish, seafood. Galician food is one of those once poor rural people's food commodified first as a delicatessen, then as a healthy and natural diet for city mice to eat something precious that their grandparents once scoffed at as poor people's food. Also so they can have knowledge of a supposedly magic diet that can make them suddenly healthy no matter they keep not exercising enough, not sleeping enough and eating just too much. Zoe Bee's white trash food video reminded me so much of it I had to make this one. She talks about trashy food, in particular the paradox of white trash food commodified for affluent people. I never thought a story about rural America could remind me so much of my Spanish rural upbringing, but it did. And I wonder if it surprised me because assumptions we all have in our minds about America as a concept. In Spain, in the mid-late 90s, formerly trashy poor people's food being elevated to the gourmet pantheon was already in full force. The subsequent commodification as source of health and naturalness was only starting. In those times I was old enough and watched more than enough American TV to want to try and make this dish that my grandma was only vaguely aware of, pizza. You may have heard of it. She scoffed at the thing, saying it was an empanada without a top. Empanada in this context meaning the traditional Galician dish, a turnover made of wheat or corn dough. Below and over a filling, which can be beef, pork, codfish, sardines, scallops, octopus, tuna, etc. It takes about 45 minutes just to bake, not counting the mixing and kneading of the dough. Pizza wasn't real food, you see, because for her it was not only something you can make in way less than 25 minutes, but a fancy thing she saw on TV, vapid colorful trinkets to entice kids, but not feed them properly really. One of the first times I realized my grandmother's rural mindset was far removed from the world around us had to do with my desire of making pizza. After buying ingredients for the pizza I wanted to make, frozen pizza base, tomato sauce, oregano, cheese, ham, mushrooms, tuna, she commented the owner of her small town grocery store had told her that she didn't have to buy the tuna she usually bought, one of the most expensive ones in the store and supposedly better quality. That way she could save some money, after all, it was just pizza, any cheap tuna would do. What? She replied, pizza doesn't go into your body just the same? You see, for her, no matter how trashy the food, no matter she didn't even consider it proper food, it does go to your body, so you should try to eat the best ingredients. Far, far removed she was. The thing is, I didn't fully realize it back then, but every time I made pizza and heard her complain about it, I was witnessing a cultural clash. My grandmother was born in 1924. She could barely say her own name, and she never went out of the Iberian Peninsula. She was the product of a rural education under the fist of the Spanish national Catholicism imposed by the Francoist dictatorship. She never knew pizza is actually a traditional dish in Italy, just as grassroots as empanada and seafood was for her. In Italy, equally Catholic grandmothers make pizza for their grandsons with the same care and love she used to put into making empanadas for me. But because yes, pizza is way easier to simplify in order to be commodified, American fast food culture adopted it. And there are out there people with college degrees that unironically think pizza is an American dish. And they probably think too that putting some ingredients on a frozen pizza base or magically rotating one is actually cooking, just like Bill thinks this is cooking too. This cultural clash is just one of the many examples of how little we know about each other, and how we dismiss one another even when, in truth, we aren't all that different. My grandma, out of ignorance, not knowing what she saw on TV wasn't the whole story, and being as unaware of Italian food and Italian immigration to America as many Italians are unaware of Galician food and Galician immigration to, well, everywhere. Americans, out of the hubris of knowing themselves the cultural power of our age, and me and all the well-educated non-Americans of the world, out of both, believing we know so much more than our illiterate grandmothers, being so sure if it's American or Americanized, it can't possibly be proper good food, while we eat more and more of the worst part of it each year, using American cultural imperialism as an excuse to ignore that Americans eat and cook the way they do because of their culture, the way they live, they work, etc., and that there is typical American food too, trashy or commodified, depending. Actually, our own culture gave birth to our food, trashy or otherwise, just the same way. So I guess, yes, this is cooking. And pizza too, of course. And even if I wildly prefer something like this, it's a good thing we have alternatives. At least while we really have them.